Hi, Big Matt. So we get some questions for you. So, your story is very interesting because you've actually, we've talked about it before. You've done um, the heavy bodybuilding, competing all the time, kind of throwing caution to the wind and all that stuff. And now you're doing it the proper way. My question was, do you think, because this is what most people think today, do you think that to become a pro bodybuilder, you really have to take massive amount of drugs or it's not going to happen, or do you think it's still possible to actually have things under control and do moderate amount, because you have to do the drugs? There's no, I mean, if you want to become a professional, at least in the IFBB, what we're talking about, pro league and everything, I mean, I don't know anybody who's doing it natural. So do you think it's a necessity to actually have to do massive amount of drugs, or do you think it's possible to do it in a healthy way, kind of like what you're doing it now?
I think in your plight to get your pro card, meaning at the national level, you can definitely do it healthy and safe because it's already been done several times. But if you think about people with good genetics, Ronnie Coleman, Kai Green, there's probably hundreds of others that didn't know their butt from a hole in the ground for supplements, hormones, or like the science of things.
That's true.
And they've either turned pro naturally or with very minuscule amounts of hormone.
But times are different now, though.
Exactly. And that's what I'm going to get to. Is that yes, it's already been done by those specimens. Now, fast forward to current day. Of course, everyone says, "Oh, pro cards are a lot easier. They're giving them out like candy." Blah blah blah. Yeah, they're definitely a lot more prevalent, and a lot more divisions. They're even top two in nationals. At the end of the day, in bodybuilding, though, like the upper class, as far as middleweight, light heavy, super heavyweight, heavy, it's not easy. It's never easy, right? Now, can you do it healthy and safe and keep your health intact, your longevity intact? I do believe so. You definitely can, but you got to not be ignorant. You got to be proactive, and you got to actually seek out and almost become obsessive compulsive, like you are with your 7 meals a day, like you are with your cardio. You got to actually do that with your health and your blood work. You actually also might not need to be such a cheap butt. And instead of spending all your money on growth and stuff and these hormones and this and that and the other and organic food,
Yeah.
spend a little bit of money on insurance, guys. If you don't have a corporation job where you get insurance free, you got to go out of pocket. You got to have it. A lot of these guys, I was one of them, had the blinders on, wouldn't do insurance. Oh my God, 500 a month, 300 a month, 700 a month. No, no, no. But you're putting out $700 a month on Serostem and all this other stuff.
For one kid, yeah.
That should coincide with your plight to become the best bodybuilder possible.
Yeah.
You should have health insurance, and you should be really meticulous about keeping track of your kidneys and your heart, namely because those aren't as resilient as your liver. So yes, I do believe that you can do it, but you just need to be really on top of things. And if things go south, pull the plug on a certain product, pull the plug on an entire prep, pull the plug on a diet practice, and step back to the drawing board and do it again. Now, some people are more prone genetically to certain things, or hypertension, cholesterol, their predisposition to just maybe thicker neck, naturally have sleep apnea. There's a lot of different things that you might have a hard time dealing with, and then juggling bodybuilding on top of that. So you have things that are genetically predisposition, and then you add the stuff that it takes to bodybuild on top of it, and it exacerbates. That's tough, but I think there's ways to figure things out, guys. You really don't have to just throw caution to the wind and then take everything under the sun.
Stick your head in the sand and.
Now,
Yeah.
once you get into the IFBB, different ball game. You're competing against crazy genetic best of the best.
Yeah.
Well, Sean Roden, I guess, is a testament that it can be somewhat healthy if he comes off for majority of the year and he then diets for 20 weeks with, whatever supplements he does to get in shape to win the O. So that's kind of cool. Our Mr. Olympia kind of shows that, but at the end of the day, for those top guys, it's tough. I mean, you gotta play chemical warfare to get your pro card. Though I don't think you have to really jeopardize your internal health to the degree that maybe people might
Are
think
doing
you
it.
have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm glad you said that. That's
Yeah.
good.
I don't think so.
All right, you get a good question?
Always good questions, right?
All right.
Pipeline BB. Nowadays, it seems shows are won by the guys that have striated glutes. What is your best suggestion for someone that may not be genetically inclined to have shredded glutes to get striated glutes without potentially starving down and losing all muscle that we have worked so hard for in the off season? That's a pretty good question. Everyone has their body fat set points, their body fat thresholds to where they They dip down, they get low, they get maybe shredded abs, they get shredded quads. Then they got maybe the kidney, lower back fat, or maybe they got just glutes. Maybe they get the back shredded, but the glutes linger. Or maybe I've seen some guys that are switched around, they get their glutes and lower back shredded, but they have lower ab fat. It just is weird genetically. Now at that point, you have options of cranking up cardio and lowering calories, right? The problem with that I've seen in plight to get those shredded glutes or the Christmas tree or whatever, you start losing pop to your muscle. You start seeing the delts get flat. You start seeing your arms swim in your sleeves more, and their sleeves are loose, and you're losing tissue in plight for that little small percentage point to get those striated glutes or that lower back feathering. So, brings me to this next point, and this is, obviously I'm going to plug my product, but the truth of the matter is, guys, I always believed in topical fat loss products, like topical yohimbine, topical theophylline, etc., in those stubborn areas, and topical capsaicin, which is the hot pepper. I believe to put it in those stubborn areas because those areas are vasoconstricted. They're basically blood-starved tissues that don't get circulation. So if you can ignite circulation in a caloric deficit with cardio, my thought process is that it's going to trigger a mobilization effect to where the heat gets in there, the blood gets in there. You're hopefully basically catabolizing fat tissue from that area to be put in the bloodstream, and then you're going to burn it off and oxidize it, right? Of course, the yohimbine in there that does reach the tissue will target alpha-2 receptors, which of course, once again, lets go of fat within that area. So it's always been my thought process to, you're already bodybuilding, you're going 100%, right? You're spending money on all this other stuff. If something might help you, that extra 2 to 5%, I'm going to try it. So I personally have always used those topical agents with those selective ingredients on the lower back, on the glutes, and I swear that it allows me to keep my cardio where it's at, my carbs where they're at, without decreasing carbs or increasing cardio. And now I have signaled those areas to maybe do something they might not have. Let's say stagnant. So I do recommend a topical fat loss product. I made my Vasoburn for that.
That's right. First product ever.
Right. Now, the other thing, like I said, you go back to what I said earlier, you up your T3, your cytomel. That's non-selective with what tissues it burns. Like I said, it could burn up your arms and shoulders and back or your legs in plight to get the shredded glutes. So now you're a stringier version, but not to say that still won't win. It's all who you stand next to, but I rather do everything possible to salvage my hard-earned muscle, like you said, in the off season, and basically do something like that first. And then of course you might have to go a little lower than you're comfortable. You might have to lose a little fullness, but if you're smart, whether you train yourself or you have a coach, then you can implement carb ups, and maybe you need a cheat meal, etc., to kind of keep things filled out and whatnot, and toggle it back and forth. So
nice.
That's my best recommendation.
Awesome. Okay, so there's a lot of I don't want to say misconception, but there's a lot of people who think out there that protein coming from a source of powders is not equal to protein coming from real food. Some people say, as good as the protein powders are today, the products are today, it's never going to replace food, or real food's always better, or it's a better source of protein. What's your thought on that? Do you feel like it is possible to get in great shape and to be as full, to be as in good condition using protein powder? Not only that, of course, but to have a fair mix of the two of them, or would it be better to just mostly use food for all your meal, if possible?
Good question.
Right?
I think protein powders are one, if not the best supplement for a bodybuilder or a person dieting, a regular person. You're getting a fast form, depending on the brand, of high quality protein, which has a full spectrum of essential and non-essential amino acids. Now, I don't believe in fully going all powders, because you do miss key nutrients and coenzymes and all those things, and microminerals that are in red meat, that are in chicken, that you aren't going to get with a protein powder, right? And the thing is, guys, you're also not going to get the hunger reducing effect, the satiation effect that a whole food meal gives you in the breakdown of the tissues and the process of digesting.
Yeah.
You have, proteins also have a greater thermic effect as far as your digestion, so you actually output more energy possibly to break it down and assimilate it. But protein powders are phenomenal. If you can do a mixture of both, because I think it's also ideal to do a full a diet that has a full spectrum of different amino acid profiles. So whether you do maybe 2 or 3 meals of whey, isolate, you do a chicken meal, a beef meal, a fish meal, what have you, cottage cheese.
So you have the whole spectrum.
You're covering everything. You aren't missing, tryptophan here, or lysine here, or leucine here. Protein powders are seriously phenomenal. Like,
What would you say the percentage could be max of protein
For-
powder as far as, intake of your protein?
50%.
50%. Okay. I remember Dorian using a lot of protein powder back in the day.
Ronnie used it. Ronnie
Yeah.
used it, and I don't even know if the ABB stuff back in year 2000 was pure whey isolate. It was probably concentrate with lactose.
Mm-hmm.
You'd blend up a 100-gram shake,
Yeah.
first thing in the morning with his grits or whatever.
Yeah.
And he would do that a couple times a day. On camera, he would literally
Yeah.
ingest it and drink it. He wasn't just faking it for like the company. And Dorian would eat, or actually Ronnie and Dorian, if I'm not mistaken, they would, they come in such good shape. They would not deviate from the routine and literally have a protein shake until the last week of the show. They already look good on it. You've seen the pictures ahead of time. Why would they change it? Is it magically the artificial sweetener going to make them have thick skin?
Right.
Just like white fish will make you have thin skin. Like, come on. If you look good, you look good.
I'm glad you said that, because I think it's a big misconception, and so many people say, well, unless you actually diet on, the look will be different. If you mostly eat food, you'll be fuller and harder, and if you supposed to, you'll be
that's
flatter.
not necessarily true. I've done experiments like that where I've cut out artificial sweeteners before a show, like a week before the show. No more diet sodas, pure water, no more protein powders, whole food, no dairy, no additives, and honestly, I can't say that it made a drastic difference when I was already in really good shape. I did one of my best conditions ever was 2013, and up until a week before the show, 6 days before the show, we were on a trip. I had a wedding to go to. Obviously, you don't want to freaking diet and travel and all that stuff before a show, but I had to, and I was stuck. I was in a position where I was stuck with only cottage cheese and rice cakes. I had one of those Dairy Gold 4-pound tubs of 2% cottage cheese and white cheddar Quaker rice cakes. I had that literally for probably 4 of my 6 meals.
Wow.
Tons of cottage cheese, 2% and rice cakes. Dave, I literally came in 6 days later, my best shape. It did not, my skin was so thin.
Wow.
It looked like I was injecting white fish.
Wow.
Like, it was ridiculous. I was like, I'm not supposed to look like this because, the forums and these people that have this dogma that's perpetrated throughout time that,
That's what I'm asking.
you can't have dairy cottage cheese going to make your skin thick, the allergens.
Yep.
Cottage cheese made my skin real shredded.
Wow.
Because I was already in shape, the body fat was gone, and I was already used to that. I had cottage cheese throughout the whole diet because I like it. I'd actually take the white cheddar rice cake and spread the cottage cheese as a topping over and have it. So man, I came in real good that year. So and you guys go watch my 2014 prep videos on YouTube, and I'm dieting with a ton of unorthodox things like yogurts that are Carb Master yogurts, and this is all the way till very late before the show, like a week before the show.
Wow. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there you go.
I will say, Dave, though, if you are a naturally huskier guy, a water-prone guy, a guy that's been fat with a lot of fat cells that are already accumulated, and you just hold water, and if you don't look good eating certain foods, then you gotta trial and error and throw them out.
Yeah.
But like I'm saying, if you're a guy that looks good and you have crazy veins and you have striations, you're coming along fine. You can't just like magically be like, okay, even though I look amazing, I got to get rid of these because people say you're not supposed to have them.
Right.
But your pictures say otherwise. So you don't just do it because the crowd says to do it.
There you go.
You do it because you need to do it because you're maybe a natural fat ass. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
It's true.
That's me.
Or whatever, right? Then you actually need to make, change your protocol.
Yeah. Gotcha. Very cool. Thanks, big man.